You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Rebecca. 3 man-melting hacks that will make a guy fall for you.
Ladies, welcome. This is always a treat for you and me because I think that it is so easy to get discouraged when it comes to finding love, and there's always a reason. Someone will tell you, or the voice inside your head will tell you why it's not worth it, why it's hard. And my mission in this episode today is to call you out. That is just a story because it is totally possible. And you're going to hear exactly how it happened for one of our clients, Rebecca. There's nothing I love better than when I get the old DM on Facebook Messenger, which happens a lot, of a big old ring picture. And that's what happened. And so now she was very gracious to inspire you. And really, the intention of this episode is for you to sort of like call it stand on the shoulders of a giant, right? Like if you could like see over what it looks like and what you need to do so that you can also have that result, this is that opportunity. So I hope you are deeply inspired. So Rebecca, thank you, first of all, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Marni. I'm so happy to be here and to see you again.
Yeah, I know. I love seeing your face. Okay, so let's bring us back. Like, where were you? What did you feel like? What were your thoughts and feelings? How old were you? What was your career like? What was your life like? And what, so start there, and then like, why did you, or how did you find us and why?
Okay. So I had the same career for many, many years, for almost 30 years now. And I was very successful in my career. I have been successful in that. I have lots of good friends. Basically a great life, what everybody says is a great life, except the one piece that was always missing is I never could find the person, the one person. All my friends from high school and college and beyond had been married for years and years and years. And I dated and dated and dated, but never could seem to find my person. And for various reasons, and I figure I'm the common denominator, but who knows?
Right.
And then, and then, so I think my last serious relationship was in 2012. Had been in 2012. And then I took the next 8 years roughly to figure out who I was and what I wanted. Because I had just gone from one relationship to another, and I thought, okay, I need to just step back, see what I enjoy doing, what I want to do with myself. And so I did that. And then it was New Year's Day, it was January 1st of 2020, when I had been with a bunch of friends the night before for New Year's, and there was a lot of couples, and they all were having so much fun and a great time. And that next day I woke up and I said, this is it. This year I am finding my person. And I was just determined. I like that. It was interesting because I was just checking my emails like I always do. And this email from you popped up, and I didn't even know who you were then, but I don't know, somehow, I think I'd been looking at various dating things online. And so somehow this email from you came up, and I listened, and it hooked to a conversation you had with people. So I listened to that, and I was so inspired. And it was like you were talking to me. And I thought, wow, I have to meet this person. So I signed up for the conversation that you have with people, and I did that, and right away, I loved you. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so I joined your program, and that was, and it was called Dating with Dignity at the time. So this was in 20, yeah. And I started it in mid-February, and I was in it for 3 months, and then I think I added on an extra month. So because that was the pandemic, that was when the pandemic started, right after I joined the program.
Right.
So, yeah. So our goal was to get on Match.com at the end, but because of the whole delay, I added an extra month. So the program was amazing. It changed so many things for me. It made me realize what my blocks were, what had been happening with all these relationships, all those things. And So the way I describe it to my friends is it digs deep inside, tears out the bad stuff, and then builds you back up to fill those spaces in. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, so then you're ready to go out. So the goal is to get you on Match.com, and you and your team just helped me through all of that to get on there. And so I joined Match on June 1st of 2020. And I was a dating machine. I was so determined to find my person that I went on over 30 dates in the first, and I joined just for 6 months.
Okay,
I
great.
think just in the first 3 or 4 months, I went on, I don't even know, 30 or 40 days probably. There were some days I was going on 2 a day. I'd go for an afternoon date. And then
Oh my gosh, you were so. Well, let me just pause you there because I want to ask you a couple questions. So, when you think about what those blocks were and what was keeping you stuck, because you did 8 years of of hard time, as they say, right? In personal development, it wasn't like you had never had any consciousness or self-awareness. What do you think allowed like that new awareness to come in? Like what made this sort of different from all the other stuff? Because most people who work with us or come or listen, they're not new to like personal development, or they go to therapy or any of those things.
Well, and I wasn't either, but yeah, I think it was doing all of the exercises they give us to do and just sort of digging deep into what things in the past maybe had triggered me, which of course I hadn't done a lot of that because a lot of those are painful things from childhood and beyond that you don't really want to think about again.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you think about, well, why do I behave this way? And who are my role models? And how did I come to think this way? And what's happened to me in my past relationships that have created this wall around me, or that I created this wall around me?
Yeah.
So then it helps you tear the wall down, which is what you have to do if you're going to find somebody, I think. Really.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I think that this is really an important piece that I want people to get is that when you don't know what you don't know. So if you just start dating and you're like, well, the apps suck, men suck, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm too whatever. That is probably not the reason why you're not finding your person, right? So when you just take a pause and find a safe container to revisit those things that you've been avoiding, the answer is, not complicated. Like it's there. It's just waiting to sort of be looked at. And if you can not only be aware of it, which often happens in therapy, but then like you said, get rid of it so you can put something new in that space, build yourself back up with your authentic self, then that's where the magic happens. So I just want everyone to really hear that, like you were brave. You did the work. You didn't just come in and be like, what's the secret to Match.com? You're like, sigh, fine, I'll deal with my stuff from the past.
Yeah, and you do have to. And that was, I have to say, you made it clear that, you're either going to do the work or it's not going to work.
Right.
So yeah.
Well,
and it's easy. I won't say some of it is not easy, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. It really is. It was pretty obvious to me what a difference it made because I started looking at everything differently. And I did not come from I had never been on a dating website before. I had only met people in real life. So for me, that was brand new. And it was something I had sworn I would never do. But of course, the pandemic hit and I thought, well, you have to do it. How else are you going to meet people? And I was out to the greatest thing in the world. So anybody who's afraid of that, I would say do not be, because it's really fun. It's actually really fun to do.
That is great.
People that you would never meet in real life.
Well, that's the second question I was going to ask you because, you sort of like you did the work, we helped you launch, we had all of your assets together, we taught you the strategy. And just even the way you're describing it, your energy is like, well, so that was fun. I was a dating machine, not like, oh God, it was like this awful thing I had to do and Marni made me do it. So what do you think made it feel fun? Like, why were you so energized and engaged in meeting great people? What was this shift?
Okay. Well, first of all, I enjoy meeting people anyway. So for me, that was a great thing. I approached it, and this might be something you had taught us, I can't remember, but I approached it as an investigator. First of all, I would say to anyone who's trying to do this, there's a couple things to always keep in mind. You always want to be kind and courteous, number one. Yeah. That's something that I love to talk about to people all the time because I think on some of those dating apps, or I don't use ever the, any of those websites. People just get so rude. And I found that by being kind and courteous, it made such a difference in the way people responded. So no matter what, no matter how rude they might be, you should just be kind back. That's my first thing I'm going to say.
It's so true, right? Dating karma. You want to create great dating karma.
Absolutely. That's it. Yes. And then the second thing is you want to be curious. And so I just approached every date as curious. Like maybe I'll find a really good new friend, even if he's not the guy. And maybe I'll find someone who knows someone I know, or maybe I'll find someone who does something fascinating that I've never done before and want to hear about. It was just really cool to meet all these people that, from all different walks of life. I joked with my friends that if you ever watched that movie, now I forgot the name of it, the one with the kids and Don't You Forget About Me, that was the theme song. It had like...
Oh, Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, that was it. And so in the high schools, and they have all the different representatives from each of the different groups in high schools. I feel like I dated all of them.
I love that.
Someone was for every different group, every day, because I really wanted to just run the gamut, because I decided I don't know what my type is. I know what I'm looking for, but I don't know if it's, I don't want to limit it to a type, because what I realized is you just never know where that person's going to come from, right? Yep. So I just dated them off, and which was really fun. And so, yeah, I guess it was fun because I just got to have conversations with all these people and find out who people were. And it was really very amiable all the way around. I think every single person that I went out with was so nice.
Yeah.
They were so nice. Most of them were really smart. They just were all working for the same thing. Everybody's working for their person. And they were this is
important, Rebecca,
yeah.
Because first of all, you shifted your energy. It just didn't happen by accident. You had a very clear profile about what you were looking for. So it attracted and was attractive to these men who were at least on that level were looking for something serious. And you had the right photos and you had all of those things put together. So that is really important because you weren't just casting a net to the whole universe being like, well, I don't want to miss out. Instead, you were like, okay, here's what I want. Here's what it looks like. Here's what life with me looks like. So it spoke to a very particular person. So they might have been all the kids at the Breakfast Club, but
yeah,
they had some common sort of values that were part of what you were looking for, correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah. So that made it really nice. And I did actually make a few new friends out of it. Although I have to say, once you meet your person, some of them kind of fade away because you don't really have time to spend.
Right, exactly. So how long till you met your person? What was that like?
So I go through all these. I think I narrowed it down to, there were 3 that I dated pretty much over the whole summer.
Okay.
Towards the beginning of fall, I decided it's time to be honest with myself. I knew none of them was the one. I didn't want to progress our relationship with any of them. I just, I was still just casually dating them all. And they all knew that I was honest with all of them. So finally, I just thought, maybe I am going to meet the person in real life. Maybe this was my training ground. I don't know. But my Match subscription was 6 months. So it went through the end of November. So beginning of November, I was feeling disheartened, but I thought, well, I'm going to go on one more time. And I hadn't been back on for about a month. And I thought, I'm going to go on one more time just to see if anybody knew was on there. And I go on, and the first person I see was Blake, who is my fiance now. And yeah, and I almost fell out of my chair because he's so handsome. And I just thought, whoa, who is this guy and where did he come from? And he had messaged me already. And his profile was amazing. And he had read my whole profile, and he said, we texted for maybe 2 days. He said, well, let's get together. So I think that was on a Tuesday that I first looked at his picture. And then Friday was our first date of that week in November. So the first date did not go well.
Oh, tell us about that.
Yeah. So I won't say it didn't go well. It just wasn't, so we met at a restaurant, and I assumed it would be for dinner, bring some dinner. That's usually on a weekend night at a restaurant. I assume that's what it'd be. So I get there and we have drinks and we have another drink, and then finally we order an appetizer, and I'm always hungry, right? So I okay, order an appetizer. And then And then we have another drink and we're still talking. And I could tell him he was really nervous. And then he said, well, let's go dancing. And I said, you do remember it's the pandemic, right? You can't go dancing.
Oh,
I'm sure, yeah, that's right. Okay. I mean, we even had to have masks on for most of it. And so he said, well, let's go to this other place. This is another sort of bar restaurant near there. And we went there and they were already closed. There's still no more food. We had another drink. And at that point, I realized, okay, there's not going to be food involved here. And also, he's going to kill me for saying this on here, but he was so handsome, really nicely dressed. And he was ordering drinks that were kind of like, he calls them the frou-frou drinks, whereas I wasn't in the art of the right drink. And so I thought, well, I think he might be gay. I don't know. So I'm not really sure why he's out with me. I don't really get this, but whatever. He's pleasant to talk to me, so whatever, right? So we go there, and then he says, well, we find out that we live 8 blocks apart. And we have lived 8 blocks apart for about 25 years and never had met each other.
That's
even though
great.
we all know people in common.
Wow.
Which is where match comes in, because I can't imagine. I may never have met him.
Right.
Yeah. So he said, well, do you want to see where I live on your way home? And I said, well, okay, fine. Well, I don't care. So, because at that point I wasn't nervous at all. I thought I was gay before. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm still waiting for this. But so he showed me his house and it was beautiful. And I thought, wow, and I can't believe how close we live. And so then, but I went home and I thought, I'm so hungry and I didn't get any food. And I don't know. I don't think that's the right person. I just don't get it. But so for the next 2 days, the weirdest thing is I couldn't stop thinking about him. And all those other guys I had dated, even the ones I had dated for the whole summer, when I wasn't with him, I never thought about him. Not at all. I just didn't.
Wow.
And this guy I could not stop thinking about. And I thought that was very odd, considering. But then about 2 days later, I was out walking my dog and he drives past and he knew I were on the street I lived on. So he drove past and he stopped and talked to me and met the dog. And then he said, I really want to go out with you again. And I said, well, okay. And I remembered what Marni taught us was always give him a couple chances.
Yeah.
Don't ever make a decision based on one date. So I said, well, okay. He texted me the next day and he said, okay, Friday night, let's go out Friday night. And I texted back and I said, okay, but will there be food involved? Because I'm a woman who eats.
I love that. And also,
Well,
but this is an important thing, because one of the other things that I teach my clients to do is to like be authentic and like speak, right? And so you're like, I'm not just going to go and not be empowered. Like, I want to know what's going on with the date. And I think that that is a super fair question. And so whether it's the first date or the second date, ladies, like if someone is offering you to meet at 5 o'clock on a Friday, you can always say like, cool, drinks and appetizers. Should I plan on dinner? Or do you want to just have drinks? Like, you get to say the things that are on your mind, because the right guy will be like, cool, she knows what she wants. So again, another like moment of dating with dignity. Okay, so tell us what happened next.
Well, so he said, I promise there will be food. I'm taking you to the best restaurant in town. It has great food, great drinks, a wonderful staff, and no COVID. And I thought, okay, how can you say there's a restaurant with no COVID? How can you say that, right? So I was really baffled. And the weirdest thing is, I had never heard of this restaurant. And I'm pretty sure I know all the restaurants in town. So I thought, okay, this is weird. I've never heard of it. And it was called the Treetop Tap and Cafe. So this is So Friday comes, I was running a couple minutes late and I texted him and said, I'll be over soon. So he says, okay, well, we have 7 o'clock dinner reservation. And I said, okay. So I get to his house, I come in, he says, okay, I'll pour us a drink real quick and then we have to get going so we're not late. And I said, okay. We pour a drink. I had barely sat down. And he said, oh, we better get going. We're going to be late. And I said, okay, let me put my coat on. And he said, fine. I put my coat on. He says, follow me. And I start following him and he starts going up the stairs. But he lives in this big house with stairways that goes different directions. And so I thought, wonder if this goes to the garage. I don't get it. Where are we going? So, but I follow him. And next thing I know, we're in the attic. And his attic is beautiful. He designed it so that it's, anyway, we walk in. There's a beautiful table set. There's menus on the table. There's fabulous lights, music. There's a full bar. This attic is amazing. And I was just, wow. What is this place? He said, oh, this is the Treetop Tap and Cafe. And you look out the balcony doors and there's huge trees there.
Oh, my
then,
God, I love
Yes.
story.
Yeah. So we sit down at the table, we start having, we're having our drinks, and he said, well, look at the menu and just tell me what you want. And so I start looking, and it's all vegetarian things. And he knew by then I was vegetarian. So I said, wow, well, they all look really good. So we discussed it for a few minutes of what do you like? What do you like? What should we have? So I picked a few things, and he said, okay, I'll be right back. And he disappears from the room. 2 minutes later, he's back carrying huge bags for food. And he had ordered every vegetarian item on the menu at one of our favorite restaurants in town. So we talked about every single thing. He spread it all out, and he looked at me and he said, I want you to know you will never go hungry again.
Oh,
and there was I know, it's the most touching thing. And I thought, oh, wow, he's amazing. So we ate and we drank. And then I asked him all my questions that night. And I said, first of all, you're not gay, right? He said, no. And he said, I only like women. And he said, I don't even want to say that. He said, I only like you. And I was like, wow, that's a good answer.
Wow. So let's tell everyone. So when you say I asked all my questions, that's because like I teach you guys to have like some non-negotiables, right? Some things that you're really looking for, that you're not going to date someone who doesn't share these 5 common values. So when you say I started asking my questions, you were, and I always say, on a date, you want to have fun and collect data about those non-negotiables. So you were having fun. So then you started to get intentional and getting to know him.
Yeah. So I did. I asked him a lot of those questions about his past and a lot of things leading up to it. And, I found out what he did for a living. And a lot of it sounded too good to be true. So, of course, I go home and I do my due diligence and I Googled him. And every single thing he told me was true. I thought, okay, this guy is for real. This is amazing. And meanwhile, during our conversation that night, he had asked me a couple questions. And I said, didn't you read my profile on Match? He said, I did. And I said, well, some of the questions you just asked me were part of my profile. So here's your homework assignment. I want you to go back and read my profile again. At our next date, we're going to discuss it. He said, well, I want our next date to be tomorrow. I said, okay. so the next time we got together again, and I said, did you read my profile? And he said, I did. And I said, well, what did you think? And he said, I think I'm the guy you wrote about. And I was like, no,
Rebecca, I'm dying right now. And you said, wait, listeners. So here's the thing. Like, I have ladies write this profile, and when they first look at it, they're like, oh my God, this is so much. Like, this is too much. Like, guys are going to like think I'm like, want too much, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nicely say, just shut up and do what I tell you to do. And so, because the profile it works. And you are not the only person who has had a guy say that, of like, I am the guy that you're looking for. And that's because it shifts this energy, this profile, and the whole way Rebecca shared how she's done everything. It's like, you're going to be lucky to get me. I have choices. And she had choices because she'd been dating. So it's real. You're not in that like scarcity mentality. Like, this is the only guy who likes me and the only guy who I like. So I just really want to point that out because, again, this is all part of the total impact from everything you did on day one up until this moment. Very intentional, and you were like really playing full out. So he said, I'm the guy you wrote about. So what happened next?
Well, so then I sat there for a minute and I went through it in my head and I thought, you know what, I think he's right. And so we continued our conversation, talking about various things in our histories and paths and what we in the future, things that we were looking for, all that. And he knew right off the bat that I wanted to get married. And he had, anyway, I will skip ahead for a minute, that on that third date, which was really only 1 week after we had met, I heard a voice in my head, literally, I'm not skipping ahead, I heard a voice in my head and I thought, and it said, this is the man you're supposed to marry. And I just thought, what? Whoa, where did that come from? But he tells the story now that he knew from the first date. And it took me 3 days. But
oh my God, I love it.
So, yeah, so we just talked and talked and talked. And just it seemed like no shortage of things to talk about. There just weren't. And I will tell you one more thing ahead. Just in preparation for this podcast today, I dug out my notebook. And I had not looked at that profile since that first month that I had been David, which was 3 years ago. And I got it out, looked at it, and would you believe, for you real bulls, every single thing I said in that profile, he and I have done together.
Oh, right.
everything. We've been to every place. We have done all the, it's amazing. And I called him last night. I said, you are the person. This is amazing. And you really are. And so he jokes that I conjured him up with your heart.
Did you manifested your man? I love that. So when's the wedding?
So the wedding is in September. So what happened is so I have another little thing to tell you, because this is another thing about when you find your right person, how you know it's the right person. So everything was great. Within months, within weeks, actually, we met each other's families. We started meeting each other's friends. Everything was great. And then 5 months after we met, I went for my annual physical exam, and my doctor heard a heart murmur that I had not had before. And long story short, 6 months in, I found out I had to have heart surgery, and went up to Mayo, and I said to him, he was with me, and I said to him, no, this is way more than you bargained for. So if you want to walk away, I'm giving you a free pass. And he said, absolutely not. I'm here for the whole thing. Don't worry. And he went up to Mayo 3 times with me for the initial thing, and then the surgery, which was 5 days, and then I had complications later. We had to go back, and he was with me the entire time. Never faulted. It was great. And I had a great support system here, but we were ahead of all of it. And yeah, so that was pretty amazing. And then as soon as I recovered from that, 2 months after that, my mom passed away. And that was all good. So he went through all these things, and he just was such a support for me. So I knew, this was the guy, right? And my family loved him, and I loved his family, and it's all really good. And
oh my God. And your mom got to meet him. That's so fun.
Yep. And so all of that, all these things happen that sort of interfere with our plan. Our plan was to get married eventually, but it turned out to be longer of a wait because of that. And also, I want to add one thing before I get to that part where we got engaged, because it's hard. But just because I want, for people listening, it's not all perfect and beautiful roses and all this stuff. It's not, because we had a lot of disagreements, like anybody does. And one of the biggest challenges, and I think a lot of your line, new level, new devil.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's huge. It's so important because it's true. And one of the things that we had to really learn was conflict resolution, because we come from 2 very different backgrounds with that. It's been really interesting, but the biggest piece of advice I would give people that helped me is the whole thing about when you disagree on things, do you turn towards your partner, do you turn away from your partner, or do you turn against your partner? I think you've gotten it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so helpful, because what we discovered right away is he turns away and I turn again.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of us turn towards. So we had to learn that, and we're still learning it. It's a work in progress, but it's helped.
Sure.
So it helps so much. So we've gotten through a lot of these conflicts that way. So that's just an important piece that, things do happen, but you just have to deal with them. And when it's the right person, you want to.
Yes, exactly. And he had the shared value of wanting to work on the relationship, like having growth as a core value. So that's amazing and you see it's not just on paper, that's how he lives his life. So that's so beautiful.
Yeah. And so then we get to, but then it sort of, things started dragging on, and I thought, I still want to get married. And he has a lot of couple friends who are not married. And so I thought, well, I don't know how he's feeling about this. So we revisited it a few times, and I wanted to remind him for what I want.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to put the ball in his court. Because an old-fashioned LA, I just wanted that. So it was so every year on the anniversary of our first date, we celebrate that. And so it was in November on the night of our anniversary, our first date. And he said, we'll come over for dinner. And it was a weeknight, come over for dinner. Well, we're sorry. I said, okay. So I came over, and he leads me up to the attic, and he had recreated the entire night of that second date that we had.
Oh my God, the Treetop Cafe was back open.
Yes, it was. And he did the whole thing again. It was really great. And then, so we're just sitting there talking and everything. And then all of a sudden he gets up from the table and walks away. So I got up and turned around, and he was proposing. So it was really good.
That's so beautiful. I'm just so proud of you, because you set an intention, and you didn't just, because I just talked to someone this morning who's got in touch with me, because she said, so I have a secret to tell you, every New Year's Eve for the last 4 years, I've said this is the year I meet my man, and I never did anything about it. And she said, and so now 4 years have passed. And I'm sure a lot of listeners have said, this is the year, but you did something about it, and you took the process seriously, which I think is another important thing. Like, dating isn't just the luck of the draw, even though we're sort of told that it just supposed to happen. You were very intentional. You played full out. I love that you saw the challenges as a new level, to grow. And you asked for what you wanted, and you got it. And that's just so, so exciting. So last thing is, so if you were going to sort of like tell people who are listening, like if you knew back then, when you said, you paid the cash, you signed up, you set the intention. If you knew then what you now know, like what would that be? What would you tell those people who don't have that because they haven't done it yet?
The biggest thing I would say is have faith. Have faith that your person's out there, that the program works, that you do have to do the work to get there. But really, there is someone out there for everyone. And it's remarkable that sometimes they're right around the corner, literally, and you just don't even know it. And so, and also, yes, everybody who says, because I actually have had friends since then ask me to help them navigate online and how did you do it and what did you do? And I would tell them, and I would listen to them though, and a lot of them have this attitude that, they're all good players, and nobody wants this, and there's not enough good guys. And some of them had even dated some of the same men that I had dated during that time. And they were saying all these bad things about them. And I said, I don't think your attitude is right here, because you're going in with a negative attitude. You have to go in with a positive attitude.
Yeah.
That everybody has something to offer, but you're looking for the person that really fits you. And
I love that.
Just not to give up.
Yeah, because it's not magic. Like, I'm not here to say like my way is magic. I'm here to say my way is if you, number one, you want to do the inner work anyway, because you want to actually enjoy your life and have that attitude. Number two, like there is a way to actually date intentionally so that you can have fun. And then three, you have to stay with it because it isn't magic. And anyone who tells you I have the magic way to meet your man, I don't think that's true. And I have this quote that is on my desk. My daughter gave me this as a gift, and it says, "I'm convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it." And so it is with you. You're in charge of your attitude, and that's where you started. And I think that's a really important lesson for everyone to learn.
Yeah. The other thing I would say to what I was just thinking of when you were saying that is be specific, because I think that you making it be specific about what we were looking for, and you've drilled down to make it very specific.
Very specific. Yep.
Boy, the universe listens to that. And I think that probably works for all kinds of manifesting, but boy, does that work. So I would also say listen to that. And then I think you and I had talked about this. We have to touch on one more thing.
Yes.
Is the whole red dress thing.
The red dress. Yes. Okay. So let me fill you in. So when you work with me, there's a stylist that we have, and part of the program is she helps you, get clothes together for your photos, because I make you do all this stuff. And Rebecca's laughing because literally, like, a lot of the time we suggest a red dress, and a lot of the time people are like, no way, that's too bold. I would never wear that in real life. Why would I want to put that on my photos? And so tell them the story of the red dress.
Well, so Marty did that to me. He insisted that I wear a red dress. Well, and I think Kimmy maybe did too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, that you have to wear a red dress somewhere in one of your photos for Matt. And I said, I don't wear red. I don't wear red. Well, it turns out I have a friend who had a beautiful red dress that she said, you need to wear this. This is perfect for you. So I put it on, and I loved it. I couldn't believe it, but I loved it. I had just never had anything on like that before. And so not only did I wear that, I had one picture with a red shirt as well. And so I wore the red dress, and I have to tell you that I would say maybe 75 to 80% of the men that I dated during that time from Match commented on that photo with the red dress. And they said that was what drew them in, every single one of them. It was amazing. And then I loved the dress so much that my friend gave it to me. And so David and I wore it out one night for our red dress night.
That's amazing. Amazing. Well, I am so happy for both of you. Because remember, ladies, like for every woman that is a success story, there's a guy who's been wanting to find his partner. I think we forget about that, right? That they're dreaming and they're like, oh, I want someone who's got her shit together and doesn't have drama and knows what she wants and is confident and comfortable and emotionally available and feminine and successful. All these things. There's a guy. And so I'm so happy for him that you made yourself so easy to find 8 blocks away.
I know.
I love that. Ladies, I hope you're inspired. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you, Marni. Thank you for having me. This was great.
I love it. I can't wait to see pics from the wedding. And I'm just so thrilled for both of you. Ladies, if you want to know how you can get involved in this, absolutely, you can email me at any time. It's vip@datingwithdignity.com, and I can help jump on a call with you and see if I can help you. I mean, I don't help everyone, but if I can help you, I will. If you want to know more about who I am and what I do, you can always follow me at Instagram. It's Marni Battista _. And on Facebook, it is just good old Marni Battista. Come friend me, come play over there. Again, so much to learn here. If you are listening and you know someone that needs a dose of hope, share Rebecca's story. My vision when you were talking is some women sitting at a restaurant out saying, I heard this episode with this woman. Let me tell you the story of how she met this guy and what happened. And a whole bunch of women go, you know what? This can happen for you. Whether you work with me or not, this can happen for you if you follow the steps. So thank you again. And don't forget, whatever you do, ladies, you have power, you have agency. So life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.